So it's now being recorded. First of all, okay, let me start explaining by showing how it works in Hebrew language, because and later on we will try to do some search in Greek as well. But as far as I know, you are more familiar with Greek, and Greek is more important for you than Hebrew. But anyway, let's try to start. And first of all, of course, we can try to do a search, just a simple one. Excuse me. For example, if we right-click the word, we can search for lexeme, inflected, root. So we can search for any of them, or just letters. And letters means that the same letters, the vowels could be different, but the letters could be the same. And for example, it can give us only 2 occurrences when the same letters, so the same order of letters are found in the Old Testament. This is just a very, very simple search, or we can just try to look for root. And if we look for root, so we will find only 3 cases. Strange. Strange, only 3. Okay, so this is the very, very simple way how we can do this. Okay, because it is with the sun. Oh yeah, it has this string. But we can do much more complicated search with accordance. And here, this is first of all, we need to choose the source. I mean the Bible where we are going to search. For example, in this case, this is Hebrew Bible, and this is yes.
Just on the basic search, what is the difference between lexeme, inflected, root, and letters?
Okay, so do you see inflected? It means that it will be searched for this morphological form. For example, if it is infinitive construct, so it is supposed to search for infinitive construct. If it is root, it is supposed to look for the root. For example, this is Shama. Do you see the root Shama? So it is supposed to root for. It is supposed to look for the root Shama, and that is why I'm a little bit surprised, because do you see it gives us many other things, like with suffix.
Okay, so
everything else. But if you just look for Shama, it will give us, do you see, 1094 results when this word occurs in the Hebrew Bible. So yeah, this is the difference between them. But I usually never look like this, or very rarely look like this. And I prefer to use this string. And this search box has a lot of more opportunities or possibilities than just a simple search. Just let us try to find, for example, if I need to look for the same root, Shama, and I need to find it within a specific morphological form. For example, Shama, and it will give me the options, several words with the same meaning. I will choose to here, and after that I can add a tag. So I just right click and enter tag. This is verb, so I will add verb. For example, I'm interested in kal, and I'm interested in let it be imperative. Of course, person is second, gender feminine, and number is singular. Okay, so after that I click enter, and it will give me cases when this verb in imperative form, feminine imperative singular, occurs in the Hebrew Bible. So all these occurrences are here. Just imagine that I would like to modify a little bit the search. The same root Shama, and okay, the same here Shama, and I just want to add tag, let it be verb, let it be the same call stem, and I don't modify any other options, but I would like to add one more tag. I would like to look for the verb with the suffix, and it could be a class of the suffix is, let it be pronominal, person is second, gender, let it be feminine, because feminine is very rare, and plural is also very rare. Okay, so it says there is nothing, no such form in the Hebrew Bible. But let us do masculine. Oops, sorry. Masculine. So it found, for example, this is infinitive construct. Yes, infinitive construct. Let me just make it bigger. Yeah, this is also infinitive construct. It found several occurrences of the same root with the suffix. So that is why this is just a line or string that help us to look for a specific form. For example, if you study your Bible and you found a form and you want to know where the same form occurs in other writings, so you can use this this search. So it's also just very basic search. And what is also possible, let us try to do like this. Yes.
Like, where do we learn how to use is there a keyboard format of the Hebrew letters, like that we can know, or we just have to do by practice, by clicking and seeing, okay, this is a letter of this word?
Oh yeah, this is thank you for this question. It's a very important question. And so it seems to me we can find the keyboard here, and the keyboard layout should be somewhere here. Okay, so but let me try to find it in the internet. Accordance Hebrew keyboard layout. Yes, just I found this document just in internet. And everything about this font is here.
Great.
So you can just use it to print almost anything. And this font, it seems to me, is very, very similar to SBL Hebrew. But I personally prefer SBL Hebrew And all the, do you see, you can even type with the Paleo Hebrew as Lachish letters, and you can do even this. Or Peshitta, you can type Peshitta. So everything is available here with this font, and actually it's very good. Also, you can use, and I personally use SBL Hebrew font, and I'm already used to this layout, keyboard layout, and that is why I can type not as fluent as in English, but I can type Hebrew quite fast. Okay, so let us come back to. So is it clear?
Yes, it is.
So I just can give you the title of the document, but do you see? I found it very fast in the internet. Okay, so now let us continue. So it was just a very simple search. Let us try, for example, if I want to try the words the first letters is Shin and Mem, and the next one it could be anyone. It is a wild card, as it is called. No, it's not. It's not like this. So if I add interrogative mark, can you see it? So it will look for any word where the first letter is Shin, second is Mem, and the third one could be any other. If I add two interrogative marks, it means that it will look for the word which has 4 consonants, and first is Shin, second Mem, and two rest could be any other. And do you see it found something? So this is also a very simple way. But now let's try to look for some more complicated issues. Like, for example, if I need to find a phrase, like 2 words together. So in this case, let us try to find this phrase. Yashav, it means to sit. And Kisa is a throne, to sit on the throne, something like this. Yeah, throne. Do you see? Yeah, I type without vowels. And if I just choose among the options, so it will give me vowels for this letter. But it will be looking for the root. So it means it could be any other modification of this word. So it could be in construct or not in construct. It could be the suffix or without suffix, so it doesn't matter. So let's try to find it. And yes.
Sorry,
yes,
I'm lost. I'm lost. How did that? What is the name of that equal sign before each name? I didn't see how it came there. You did it manually, or it just came?
No, it came by itself. So okay, I will do it again.
Before each word, yeah.
Yes. So look, Yashav means to sit. As soon as I choose this one, do you see it gives me different options, because the same wording, the same consonants, we can find in different examples. So it gives me options. As soon as I choose it and I click here, it means that it is exactly Yashav. Okay.
Sorry,
yes.
Prof. Again.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I'm wondering where Can you do that process again?
Yes, please.
I didn't see where you chose even the first word.
Okay. Yeah.
Where there, yeah. Oh, you are writing it. You are writing
Yes,
manually.
I just typing.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay.
Yes, I typing the letters, and as soon as I type the letters, it gives me the options. I choose the
Okay.
option. This is the first one. Okay, the next one is
Oh, I see.
Kisse. I am typing, and
Oh,
it
I
gives
see.
me the option.
Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
after that, I just press enter, and the result is like this. But do you see, it gave me just an exact phrase where the two verbs occur of the same root occur together.
Yes.
Yes, but for example, if there is a phrase, he was sitting upon the throne, okay? So it could be just several words in between. So in this case, what we can do, just remove one word, Yashav remained, and let me in search option, there is enter command, okay? And I will enter command, end. And the next one is Kisse. And it's supposed to look for these two words which occur in the same verse. Let's try.
Did you enter, Prof?
Yes.
You entered.
Yeah, I pressed entered, and
Okay.
after that, it gave me 62 results. 62 results when do you see two words occur in the same verse. For example, like here, they are not probably connected with each other because one is in the beginning and another in the very end. But yes, so do you see it found verses in the occurrences in the same verse. But I can use another command, not and, but I can use another command, and it will be command within. It means that I can indicate how many words could be between these two. Let it be 3, okay? So before the result was 62, now it should be less than 62. Let us see 48. 48, and most of them is Yashav al Kisseh, so to sit upon the throne. Yeah. Vegam Yashav Shlomo al Kisseh Melucha. And also Solomon was sitting upon the throne of his kingdom, of the kingdom. Okay, so do you see now it works like this? This is about the exact phrase, and if you want to find like several screen larger, what can I do? I just can make the larger, the font could be larger, but I cannot do this one larger.
Okay, it looks very small, but
yeah, sorry, I cannot make it bigger. Okay, let us try to find some other things. Yeah, one more thing that we can do. So far we were looking with this one, words, but for Hebrew Bible it gives us one more option. So of course verses, it is just looking for the verse, and we can use just for letters. And in this case, let it be like this one. So it is infinitive construct with the pronominal suffix. And of course, in this case, it doesn't give me the option to choose, because it could be like any letters together. So it doesn't no such occurrences. Okay, yeah. So do you see this is letters, and it looks for this combination of letters, because what is interesting, it can find even sometimes occurrences when one letter belongs to one word and other letters to another word. Obviously, this is not the case, but sometimes it can be. Okay, so this is we can find 4 letters. Is it clear so far?
Prof.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. I am sorry. The second search where we used end and entered it. I also tried here to do it. Worked very well. I have tried to do what you're doing, but the first one is still giving. I'm not able to do it. How to put the one that came with the equal sign before it. I put the word and I choose the option, but somehow it's not giving me what I see.
Do you see, Pastor Makolonge, let us try to do this.
Yes.
Can you share your screen?
Yes, please.
I stop sharing. You can share your screen.
Thank you, Prof.
And we can see how it works on your computer.
I was using the Greek text.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I just wanted, I tried in the beginning and I chose that option.
Correct.
But now from here, how do I go to RK? Because
okay, now you do you have a menu in the menu search?
Search here.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Command, enter command.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It will be end. Okay, you know this one.
The end is okay. This one is
okay. Okay, so we just are looking for the exact phrase.
The other one.
Click space.
Okay.
And type arche.
Okay.
Oh no, you type. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. Arche beginning. Yes. Choose the first one. And click enter. Press enter button.
Yes, I've done that.
So do you see you found all the occurrences when
I see.
you have exactly this phrase, en arche.
Oh, so it doesn't have to bring the equal signs. Maybe that was in Hebrew.
It's probably only in Hebrew.
I see, I see. But the results are here. Thank you.
Yes,
Said-
yes. Okay,
it-
now don't stop sharing the screen. Let's try to do this one.
Okay.
Let's try to do another command. Do you see in the New Testament? By the way, oh yeah, it's LXX plus NGT. Very well. So in the New Testament, do you know that this couple, Priscilla and Aquila, yes, this couple is very famous.
Yes.
But it's very interesting that sometimes the combination of words are different. Sometimes, and in most of the cases, Priscilla is mentioned first.
Okay.
But there are some cases when Aquila is mentioned first. So
Okay.
can you just type the name Priscilla?
In Greek now, yeah?
In Greek, of course, yeah. Oh yeah, Priscilla is here. Yeah. And let's go to the command.
Okay, I go to command first. Sorry, search.
Yeah, enter command.
Do I have to put a space first or command first?
It doesn't matter, it seems to me.
Okay, command.
And followed by. And now we need to type Aquila.
Okay. Aquila, how do we?
No, not here. No. Probably just K. Just a minute.
Someone help Aquila spelling. How do we spell it?
I will tell you how it is should be written.
Okay.
Aculas. In
Aku. Oh, there it is.
Aculas.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, press enter.
I see.
Priscilla and Aculas. Priscilla
Yeah.
and Aculas, 2 times.
Yes.
Okay, let us change the command and let us Priscilla preceded by. Oh, no, yeah. Or we can do the same, Aculas followed by Priscilla.
Sorry.
It doesn't matter, so it should work both ways.
There was an option of preceded by.
Preceded
Okay.
by, yeah.
Okay.
But let's do followed by Priscilla.
I see, it's on the one. Huh?
Okay, and it is even in different sentences, so it,
Yes. Not immediately.
not immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and can you just try to find Priscilla and Kulas in the same verse?
Okay. Do I go to command and end?
End, yes. So only 3 times.
And it's only 2 that they are together with and.
Yes, and it is a little bit strange that the female name is preceded. Oh no, is given first in all of the cases, not vice versa.
Wow.
But Aquila is the husband, and Priscilla is the wife, and Priscilla is always first.
Okay.
So what does it mean?
That's something.
Yeah.
She was the prominent figure.
Yeah,
She
most
was,
probably she was a leader in this couple.
She was strong.
Yeah. And okay, so let us continue. Can we find some cases when, okay, can we just change and for or? Just command or, yes.
Okay.
So we have more cases, yes?
Yes.
The 3-1 is correct. Oh yeah, do you see? Sometimes she is called Priska.
Yes.
Okay.
Where is Prisca, Prof?
So, for example, in 2 Timothy, in the last one, in the
Even
Romans 16. Oh yeah, do you see Aquila Kai Prisca in Corinthians, First Corinthians?
I see.
Interesting.
Yeah. So.
So that's the only
Is there
of
option?
Aquila's first.
Is there option like that in the Bible works of?
Yes. Bible works is typically allows doing the same search.
Putting a star so that there's one you mentioned about, was it a question mark, which I also didn't get it.
Okay. Yes. Let's do like this. Okay, it would be interesting. Just remove letter by letter until Prisk. So Prisk, and enter asterisk.
Through the search, or I just type?
No, just a shift and 8, or yes, and click enter.
Oh, it has now brought all the others, the pre-scan and.
So it looks like it. Yes, it gives you all the options.
I see.
When Prisca or Priscilla is used. So do you see, because Prisk is the common root for all of these names. But what we can see, Acts 18, Priscilla and Aquilas is used. Romans 16, also Prisca and Aquilas. And in 1 Corinthians, for some reasons, Paul says Aquilas kai Priscas. And in 2 Timothy is Prisca and Aquila. So it's a very interesting case. Definitely, Prisca or Priscilla played a more prominent role in this couple. That is why she is always at the first on the first position. But for some reasons, in 1 Corinthians, Paul decided to change, and he says Aquilas kai Prisca. So yeah, it could be interesting to investigate what could be the reasons of such change. Okay. Any other questions about that, about the search? And try, because the more you search, the more you do searches, the more fluent you are in these issues, and it definitely will help you. It will help you.
Maybe, Prof, how do you import the search results? Maybe to a page?
Pardon, again?
How do you import these search results, maybe to Word document or something like that? Or you have again to type the results?
I didn't understand. What do you mean?
I mean, okay, how are you able to get these results to your page where you are maybe typing or something? Are you getting me?
You mean how can I export those results?
Yes.
Yeah, it should be an option.
There should be an option.
Yeah, I think Pastor Makalonga is showing the procedure.
Okay. Oh, you highlight?
Copy is one of these things. But I know that in Bible Works you can export the results, and you can export not the full verses, but you can export only the references. Okay. Like, for example, Acts 18:2, Acts 18:18, and so on. So just let us look for this option. So I cannot see it right now, but we can find it. It should be somewhere. It should be somewhere. Also, what you can do, you can select the range. For example, you don't need to look in the entire New Testament, but for example, you are interested in only in the New Testament, or in the book of in the book of John, or so you can also choose the range of search. And and of course, it is very helpful, especially if you want to find exactly the same phrase or similar phrases. So it is of great help for you. Oh, okay. So any other questions? Would you like to? Yes, please.
How do you choose the range, maybe?
How do we? Yeah, the range. Yes.
Yeah, the range. Defined range.
Oh.
Okay.
And here in defined range, you can just make a new one. New range definition, like John. And I need to specify John. Okay. Yeah, it is here now. Update, and let me just try to find. Yeah, do you see? Yes. I was just looking for the word hour, and it found only in the Gospel of John.
Wow.
Not anywhere else. But of course, this word occurs much more often than in the Gospel of John.
Oh, okay. But because you limited, it gave you the results of.
Yes,
Okay.
it gave me the results only from this book. And sometimes it's very, very helpful, especially to save you time. For example, if you are working with the Gospel of John and you are not interested in some other usages, so if you just look for the word hour or for any other word in the entire New Testament, so in this case it will give you many results, and you will need time to look through them or to find just all those that are in the Gospel of John. But if you just restricted or limited your search, so in this case it can help you to save time. Yeah, this is one of the ways, and I'm more than sure that I'm not a very much profi in the accordance, and it is possible to have some more interesting searches. Yeah.
Again,
This has been
sorry,
helpful.
Prof,
Yes,
can sorry again, can you do the range again?
Okay,
I don't
so
know.
we go to the search.
Like I'm missing something.
Define range.
Yes.
Define range. Control A. Oh, sorry.
Define range.
Oh, sorry. It's somehow. Yeah, and now you see range. It is a range is John here.
I see.
And
is it possible to record?
it is recorded. It is being recorded.
Okay, thank you.
For example, if I just look in all the text, so it is everywhere. Okay, search, define range. Oh, it disappears. I don't know why.
Maybe because it's already there. The range is already there. Maybe we remove what
No,
is
but
there.
I want to define it. So, for example, if I want
Maybe
to
now you have to click range. Yeah, click range there by the screen.
Okay, define.
okay,
Oh, where do you go from here?
it is here, and now I can just choose, or I can define a new range. For example, let it be not a John, but first John, second John, and third John, and let it be also Revelation.
Prof, under the name, there is a name John.
Yeah, so it is for me just to know, for example, Johannes corpus. So now I know that I will be looking for just in this corpus, I will be looking. Okay.
So I could put there New Testament or Old Testament.
Yes, yes.
Then on definition, I put the specific.
So it gives us examples, Genesis Malachi, or for example, Genesis chapter 137. So we even select the chapters. Okay, let us update. Okay, now do you see it is looking Johannes corpus? So range is Johannes corpus. And let me see how it works. Did it find anything except? Okay, it occurs in 1 John and in Revelation. Of course, in Revelation it occurs quite often because the hour in Revelation is very, very prominent here. Okay, so this is how it works, and we can also just play with the range. So what also is important? For example, for me, it is very useful if I teach Hebrew language, and who knows, maybe some of you are teaching or some of you will teach Greek language. So in this case, for example, it helps me to find a specific form, or just, for example, I want to find the form of the verbs. Let me show you in Hebrew, because it's, or yes, for example, I need to find all verbs with the first yod. Okay, so in this case I click yod, and after that 2 question marks, and I can specify that this is a verb, because it will be not looking for a noun or some other. So I don't care about the stem, and it will give me all the verbs with the first yud, for example.
And that can work with any letter, or yod is special?
Yes, it could be anything.
Or
Or for
wait,
example, yes.
or words that begin with that letter, yeah.
In Hebrew, yeah, it's yud, question, 2 question marks, and after that I just add a tag that it is a verb.
Okay.
And if you need to, for example, to find a special word in aorist, or occurrences of aorist, but in Hebrew it is easier, because you see all Hebrew verbs are 3 consonantal verbs. So we do not have like 4 consonantal verbs. But in Greek it is more complicated, because in Greek the verb could be of any length, the root of the verb. Yeah, so it is probably, it will not work very well in Greek language. But anyway, you can try to different ways. And there are many videos online. And if you don't know anything, you can just go to the video and you can look for special search, how it is done in accordance. Yes, any other questions?
Great. Thank you, Prof. This has been helpful.
I hope it was helpful for you, and especially if you do exegesis, it is of great help. It is of great help.
Very helpful.
Very helpful indeed.
Because for me, it is not important in accordance the library that they can provide, but these search tools are very important, because otherwise you cannot do good exegesis without that. And it really can help you to find some connections, especially in the case of intertextuality, to find where these such kind of words are used elsewhere, or probably the author is making a reference to such kind of text, but because you cannot find the words, you cannot locate it. But now you can, it's very easy to do.
Maybe one more question, Prof.
Yes, please.
If I want to read a book or a commentary in accordance without making any search, is that possible?
Yes, of course.
Okay, can you point to me? Maybe I just
I
one
don't
of
have a lot of books in accordance, but it seems to me this is amplify section.
Okay.
And here it will give you dictionaries, commentaries, lexicons, grammars, and some other issues. But I didn't purchase them, so I don't have it in my accordance. Let me see what kind of commentaries we have. Okay, I don't know what it is, but let me try. Yes. So do you see it give you the commentary on Genesis?
Okay. Thank you for that.
So, but the only thing that you need to purchase them. So if you purchase those commentaries, so they will be automatically added to your accordance, or you can download them. and you can use them.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Maybe I don't know whether you began earlier with Bible Works. Maybe if you began with it, then we can watch maybe the video at the beginning, because of course it can also help sometimes.
Actually, I don't have now Bible Works on my computer,
Okay. Okay.
so that is why I cannot help you right now. But it seems to me I have it on another computer, Bible Works. But because Bible Works is not supported anymore, so
Okay.
I stopped using it. Because
Okay.
anyway, like in 1 or 2 years,
Mhm.
it will be not maintained anymore, and
Okay.
it will be impossible to use it. So that is why I decided to move completely to Accordance and use Accordance instead of Bible Works.
Okay.
Another issue that is also possible is Logos. Logos software, and it seems to me Logos software provides this engine for free, so you can download the Logos for free, and you can use it.
Yes.
But I personally never explored the Logos, what they provide for the search.
Okay, maybe one more question as you close. So that means that what is happening in the Hebrew Bible search and in Greek Bible search, we can also do it on the English versions as well, isn't it?
Of course, yes, the principles are the same. The
Okay.
principles are the same.
Only
The only
that now-
difference that in Hebrew you have to type from right to left, and in all European languages you can do it from left to right. This is the only difference.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, this is, I open my Accordance. This is the library, but we are not interested in the library.
This is Logos.
Oh yes, it's Logos.
Mhm.
So it's very interesting because do you see Logos started as a library, and later on it added some like search instruments, but Accordance started as a search instrument, but they added some books, so now they go in the same direction.
Mhm.
Okay, honestly, I don't know where we can, how it is done in Logos. So I don't want to take your time now. I need to explore it, and if I know how to do it, maybe next time I can show how it works in Logos. Okay. Now let us have just a short break. Yes. So now we will. We will discuss this book, Ezra-Nehemiah, and what is important, we will just emphasize several key issues about this book and several problems that arise when we study those books. And the first issue, which is very important, is the issue of unity or authorship of Ezra-Nehemiah. Actually, all those issues are related. Why? Because do you see, according to the Hebrew tradition, the book of Ezra-Nehemiah is one book. And even if you open Even if you open the Biblia Hebraica Schutzgartensia, so you know that in the end of every book, they have some Masora finales, as it's called. So what is the purpose of this Masora finales? Every time when they copied the book, they counted the number of words in the book, and they try to identify the middle word. And you can find it after each book of the Old Testament. So what is important for the books of Ezra-Nehemiah, you cannot find this Masora finales after the book of Ezra, but you can find this Masora finales after the book of Ezra-Nehemiah. And the middle verse, so the word, the verse that it is in the middle of this book is Nehemiah 3:32. So it means that actually for Jewish tradition, the book of Ezra-Nehemiah was always considered as one book. It has never been considered as two different books. So in this case, it is very interesting. So why do we today read them as two separate books? And sometimes people say that Origen was the first one who tried to separate these two books and to make them independent books. So the question is it one book, or do we have two different books? So do you see the problem? Do you understand the problem?
Yes, Prof.
Okay, but
Yes.
I don't remember. Do you see my screen?
No.
Yes, Prof.
No.
No, we do not.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to project my screen.
Okay.
And yes, we are recording. Now you can see it, yes?
Prof,
Yes.
and I was trying to get the argument, whether it is one or two. Maybe when we read here, it will.
Yes, we will see. Do you see? Now we will discuss those arguments for separate books and for one single book.
Okay.
Okay. So first of all, one of the arguments for the unity of Ezra-Nehemiah is the Jewish tradition. And according to the Jewish tradition, it was always considered as one book, not two separate books, but one book. And the Masora Finales is the evidence of this understanding of the rabbis. So Ezra-Nehemiah is considered as one book. One more argument for the unity of Ezra-Nehemiah is a non-canonical book, First Esdras, and this First Esdras is actually there are many debates about this book, First Esdras, but it has it looks like it has both the Second Chronicles and the book of Ezra combined in the same book of First Ezra. So most probably he compiled from both books, and there is no break between these two books. So for that reason, it was a widespread belief, especially in the 19th century, that the author of the book of Chronicles was also the author of the book Ezra-Nehemiah. So it was like one author whom we do not know who produced both books. But in the 20th century, scholars rejected this idea. And if you remember, I mentioned for you the name of Sarah Jaffet, is a scholar from Israel. And actually she convincingly proved that the author of Chronicles could not be the author of Ezra-Nehemiah. And the agenda and the philosophy, ideology is quite different. So we cannot we cannot say about the common authorship of these two books. Excuse me. So yes, and according to Jewish tradition, Ezra is credited as the author of both Ezra-Nehemiah and Second and First Chronicles. So this is the Jewish tradition. Yes, as I told you that Chronicles and Ezra-Nehemiah couldn't have the same author, so it's just a wrong idea. So now let us consider the arguments for two separate books. So why do you think that we have two separate books but not one book? And first of all, this argument is very, very simple. If you open the book of Nehemiah, we can see that it starts with the so-called prologue or introduction. The words of Nehemiah, son of Hakaliah. And after that, there is a narrative. So in this case, if we have this introduction, the words of Nehemiah, it means that in fact it was a separate book. So we do not have like one book, but it was a time when Nehemiah was a separate book. Yes, another argument, if one author is responsible for the book, why he repeats the list of returners in Ezra 2 and Nehemiah 7. So we have the information that is duplicated in both books. And in this case, if one author, or it was a product of one author, so why did he use the same material twice? Another important issue is the stylistic differences. And the book of Ezra is written from the third person. So it means that Ezra refers to himself in the third person. So he never uses the first person pronouns. But if you read the book of Nehemiah, you can find that it is mostly written with the first pronoun. So Nehemiah is speaking on behalf of himself. Like, when I heard these words, I sat down and wept. I mourned for a number of days, fasting and praying before the God of the heavens. I said, and the prayer of Nehemiah is coming. So do you see in the book of Nehemiah, the narrative is given from the first person. In the book of Ezra, the narrative is given from the third person. And these stylistic differences is very, very, very prominent. Also, what is very prominent for the book of Nehemiah are the short prayers. So he very often inserted short prayers in the middle of the narrative. Like, for example, he narrates about some events, about some enemies who made some obstacles for building the wall. And when he does this, he inserted like very, very short, it's a kind of prayer. He says, just remember those people and don't leave them unpunished. Or he says, remember me for what I have done for Jerusalem, for example. So we can see that the style is different. So in this case, we cannot say that Nehemiah and Ezra were produced by the same author, because the stylistic are completely different. And conceptual differences. For example, Ezra is interested in the temple, priesthood, and Levites. And Nehemiah is interested in the wall and the repopulation of Jerusalem. So they have different agendas. And this is another argument for two different separate books, not one book. But we also have some arguments for one composition. And in order to understand this, we need just to take a brief look at the structure of the books. And if you look at the structure, you can see one interesting detail. You can see that actually the book of Nehemiah is written very similar to the book of Ezra. For example, the book of Ezra, chapter 1, the return of the exiles. And we can see in Nehemiah, in the book of Nehemiah, that Nehemiah returns to Jerusalem. So in the second chapter, we have the list of the people who returned. And in the third chapter of the book of Nehemiah, we have the list of those who built the Jerusalem wall. After that, we have reconstruction of the temple and opposition. And we have very similar reconstruction of the wall and again opposition. After that, we have temple is completed. So temple was built, celebration of Passover. Ezra comes to Jerusalem. And something similar we have in the book of Nehemiah. For example, the wall is completed, the list of returners from Babylon, Ezra reading the book of the law, celebration of the Feast of Tabernacles. So do you see some very, very common motifs we can find in both books? And after that, we have covenant is renewed in Nehemiah, which is not actually repeated in the book of Ezra. But this is like a common point because at this moment, Ezra appears in the book of Nehemiah. So it looks like Ezra is functioning in both books as well. And finally, we have the same issue in the end of each book. And this is the issue of the foreign wives. So it is repeated in Ezra chapter 9 to 10 and Nehemiah chapter 13. So this parallel structure of the book of Ezra and Nehemiah tells us that actually we can see that there is a kind of common idea behind the book, or there is a kind of something common. And in this case, we can see that the arguments, it looks like the arguments are divided. Is it one book or do we have two different books? So now I would like just to ask you a question. What do you think about this? So what do you think? Is it one book or we should treat these two books as two separate books? Just before we go into the next slide.
Yes. Personally, from also reading, of course, reading that introduction to Old Testament, it presents an interesting way of the theological implications, even of the stylistic differences that appear in Ezra and Nehemiah. So I'm thinking that it is two books presenting similar events. It's just like the gospel, two books presenting similar events from different perspective, because Nehemiah was all about leadership, while Ezra was all about the community. And Ezra was about the holiness, the spiritual holiness, while Nehemiah is about the political, which is separating them politically. So I think it's two books talking about the same issues.
So in this case, why do Jewish tradition? Why does Jewish tradition keep them as one book?
Well, that
so what is the purpose? Why they combined these two different books together and treated it as one book?
Possibly because of the timeline that they're talking about, the same timeline, and they overlap a lot. I'm not sure. That one I will. Let me just leave it there.
Okay, maybe personally, I'm thinking that the argument that the Hebrew Bible is keeping the two books as one, I find that argument very strong because they are the recipients of the primary recipients of this book. So I think possibly these two books are just one book. So that's
Yes.
my thinking.
Yeah. Please continue.
Yes, so what I'm saying is that because of the argument that the Hebrew Bible has both these books as one book, I find that one point a very strong argument because they are the primary recipients of this book. So personally, I think this book may be just be one. Ezra-Nehemiah may just be one.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
it is like a very, very long tradition.
Yes, so that's what is most likely that it's just one book. Because the tradition is long, really, and this is from the
And
Hebrew.
yes, there is a question why, if there were two different books, why were they combined together as one and presented afterwards as one book?
Sure. So I find it okay. Maybe the modern scholars or the who divided the books, maybe they did it, but I think that the fact that in the Hebrew Bible they are one, I find that point really outweighing all the other points. That it could be possible that this was just one book. Yeah.
Yes. Any other ideas?
Prof,
Yes.
I think I'm leaning on, I don't have very strong reasons. I've not done any serious study besides the normal reading Bible devotionally and hearing what the reasons have been presented here. I'm leaning more on the two different. I think that I see them to be different. Looking at the style, looking at just as Moses said, the emphasis, when you look at the emphasis on Ezra, I find Ezra to be more of restoring back worship, and it's like a pastor. And Nehemiah is a project
like administrator.
Yes, administrator who wants to have the physical restoration. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Prof, could it be the
yes.
same author?
Pardon?
Could they be united in the Hebrew Bible because it was the same author?
Yes, so do you see, definitely we do not have, there are some evidences that tell us that it was not the common author. You cannot speak about the common author.
Okay.
Because of these like very distinctive characters of the book. So it's difficult to speak about the one author, and some other arguments that we mentioned, like for example, if one author is responsible for the book, why he repeats the same information twice? So it doesn't make sense. Yes, so now let us look at the modern scholarship on authorship. Modern scholarship on the unity of the book. So today, most of the scholars, even how to say, especially the liberal scholars, what they say, they say about different sources that were included in the book. Like, for example, in the first 4 chapters, it could be like Cyrus' edict, a list of those people who returned, list of the vessels, and some other issues, like they could be the sources. And you probably know that the portion of the book of Ezra, one portion of the book of Ezra is written in Aramaic document. So this portion is usually called Aramaic document. After that, we have the Ezra's memoirs. So Ezra, before chapter 7, we can see that the events are actually about some, the narrative is about some events which are in the past. And Ezra appears only chapter 7. So that is why this portion, the last portion of the book of Ezra, is sometimes called the Ezra's memoirs. And after that, we have Nehemiah's memoirs. And after that, we have a second part of Ezra's memoirs. And again, we have continuation of Nehemiah's memoirs. So what conclusion can we make? In fact, most probably Ezra and Nehemiah were two different books in the past. So Ezra wrote his part and Nehemiah wrote his part, but somebody else most probably combined them together. So why did he do this? We do not know exactly. But on the one hand, we cannot deny that the book of Nehemiah, especially those parts which are defined as Nehemiah's memoirs, so those parts are actually were written by Nehemiah and Ezra himself. But later on, somebody put them together. Who did this? We do not know. And we just believe that this person was inspired, and he just presented the book of two different authors, Ezra and Nehemiah, as one book. Okay, is it clear? Yes, any questions?
Can this be the same as the case with Kings and Chronicles?
Yes, it could be the same, especially if we speak about the Book of Kings, because in case of the Book of Chronicles, we can argue that there was one author who, from the beginning to the end, designed the book, because
Yes.
the book is very coherent and it is clear that it has one common idea, one agenda, and the author tries to illustrate his position on different examples. But here it is clear that Ezra wrote his part of the book and Nehemiah wrote his part of the book. And after that, somebody else just combined all this together.
Okay.
Okay, but of course, we do not know who this person was. And the only thing that we can be sure that this person was divinely inspired and he just was under the inspiration from above. He produced this book. Okay. So this is one of the problems, and one of the problems is the problem of unity of the book of Ezra and Nehemiah, because do you see, on the one hand, we can see the evidences of two different books, but on the other hand, we can see the evidences of the one book. Another problem that we can find is the chronology and the chronological order of the events. And in this case, there is an impression that the author of the book of Ezra, especially, just is jumping from one period of time to another period of time, and sometimes it creates some problems for the interpretation of the book. I will give you just several examples. Just if we read, especially chapter 4 of the book of Ezra. So when the enemies of Judah and Benjamin heard that the returned exiles were building a temple for the Lord, the God of Israel, they approached Zerubbabel and the family heads and said to them, "Let us build with you, for we also worship your God and have been sacrificing to him since the time King Esarhaddon of Assyria brought us here." So do you see here we have the time of Zerubbabel and Joshua. And this is verses 4 to yes, okay, let me read a little bit more. But Zerubbabel, Joshua, and other heads of Israel answered them, "You may have no part with us in building a house for our God, since we alone will build it for the Lord, the God of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, has commanded us." Then the people who were already in the land discouraged the people of Judah and made them afraid to build. They also bribed officials to act against them to frustrate their plans, throughout the reigns of King Cyrus of Persia and until the reign of King Darius of Persia. So Darius is mentioned. And after that, we have Ahasuerus. At the beginning of the reign of Ahasuerus, the people who were already in the land wrote an accusation against the residents of Judah. And if you look at the end of chapter 4, so in the end we can see verse 24. Now the construction of God's house in Jerusalem had stopped and remained at a standstill until the second year of the reign of King Darius of Persia. So it looks like if you look at the order of the kings, so we can see that the first was of course King Cyrus. The second was Cambyses, but he's not mentioned in the book of Ezra-Nehemiah. And after that we have Darius, the King Darius, and after that we have Xerxes omitted, and after that we have Ahasuerus. In the end of the chapter, we can see that the author is coming back to King Darius. So this kind of chronological disruption was especially prominent and especially important for us as Adventists. Do you know why? Because sometimes, and it seems to me, did I mention it to you or not, that in the book of Ellen G. White, Prophets and Kings, this man Ahasuerus is called Xerxes. So Ellen G. White, she called him false Merdis, or okay, just a minute, please. Let me just find it. Okay, just a minute. Okay, sorry, I cannot find it in the book of Ellen G. White. Just one more minute, please. Yes. Yes, I found it. So during the reign of Cambyses, the work on the temple progressed slowly. And during the reign of the false Smerdis, look, called Artaxerxes in Ezra 4:7. So I don't know what is in your Bible, 4:6 or 4:7. Okay, at the beginning of the reign of Ahasuerus, Ahasuerus is Xerxes. The people who were already in the land wrote an accusation against the residents of Judah and Jerusalem. During the time of King Artaxerxes of Persia, Bisham, Mithridat, Tabeel, and others wrote the letter. So do you see, she says that in 4:7, Artaxerxes is not Artaxerxes, but he is false Smerdis. And in order to understand what happened in the Persian Empire, we need to remember a little bit the history of the Persian Empire. So do you remember Darius the first, Cyrus conquered Babylon and conquered all this territory, and he let all the exiles to go, and he let all the exiles to go home. And people of Judah came back to Jerusalem and started building the temple. And after that, we know that his son Cambyses came to power when Cyrus died. And he was king up to, if I'm not mistaken, 593 or 523 or 22 or 25. Don't remember exactly. So, but what happened when he died? By the way, he died somewhere in Palestine or in Syria. When he died, there was a kind of civil war in Persia, and the name and the man named false Smerdis. So somebody, actually Smerdis was the brother of Cambyses, and this his brother Smerdis died had died just before Cambyses became a king, and he died under some enigmatic circumstances, mysterious circumstances. And one guy, after Cambyses died, proclaimed himself to be Smerdis. So in the history, he is known as false Smerdis. But he was able to keep power for a very short period of time. And when he was in power, there was a kind of civil war, and another man, Darius, tried to get him out from his position, and he was succeeded. And finally, in year 522, Darius became a king of Persia. So he became a king in 522. So some people, and in 19th century, it was like a common position that Artaxerxes here is false Smerdis. But in fact, even when we studied the Sabbath School Quarterly just last year, in the Sabbath School Quarterly, this position is not held anymore. So the Sabbath School Quarterly says that Artaxerxes here is really Artaxerxes. He is not a false Smerdis, and it actually doesn't make sense for him to be a false Smerdis, because there is a very easy or good sequence of the kings, like Darius. Ahasuerus is Xerxes, and after that we have Artaxerxes of Persia. And actually, false Smerdis had very little time to issue any kind of decree against Jerusalem and building of the temple. And there are some other arguments for this position. But what is interesting and what I would like to mention today, that when the Sabbath School Quarterly, just a minute, please, was discussed. Yeah, this one. An article written by a very famous person, Gerard Damsticht. Damsticht appears on internet in this Ad Vindicate, and actually he argues for the Ellen G. White position, and he argued that Artaxerxes of Ezra 4 should be false Smerdis. So he is not Artaxerxes, but he is the false Smerdis. Yes, as Ellen G. White says. But this position has some weaknesses. Why? Because do you see, when we read the letter that was written during the time of Artaxerxes, it looks like they reported a big progress of those people who built Jerusalem. So let it be known to the king that the Jews who came from you have returned to us at Jerusalem. They are rebuilding that rebellious and evil city, finishing its walls and repairing its foundations. Let it now be known to the king that if that city is rebuilt and its walls are finished, they will not pay tribute, duty, or land tax, and the royal revenue will suffer. So they report a big progress of those people who came back to build the temple and the city. But when we read the parallel account in the book of Zechariah and in the book of Haggai, we can see that it is actually something opposite, because do you remember Haggai says that the people who came back, they didn't build the temple, and they urged and encouraged people to build the temple, and they say that actually they built their own houses, but they didn't build the temple. So and there are some other issues that are involved in this connection, but I will not touch them right now. And that is why in our Sabbath School quarterly, they didn't say that Artaxerxes is false Smerdis, but and it is just a majority opinion that it is about the Artaxerxes, not the Xerxes, not the false Smerdis. So is it clear these problems? If you want to read the article of Damsticht, I can just give you the reference to it, and you can just go and read it, and you can know his arguments for this issue. I just want to mention it to you because do you see, maybe one day you will face this opposition, and you will see that people are divided. For example, I remember I visited one church, and I found like a strong opposition to what was written in our Sabbath School quarterly, and some people really argue for this position. And some other issue, which is also a little bit, it's not as problematic, is the identity of Sheshbazzar and Zerubbabel. Because in the writings of Ellen G. White, you can also find that Sheshbazzar and Zerubbabel are the same person. In our modern scholarship, modern scholars usually do not identify them as the same people. But in fact, it is not very clear from the text. So it could be that Sheshbazzar and Zerubbabel are the same. So we cannot argue here very strongly that it is not the case. But the Bible is not very clear about this issue. Okay, so now let us continue a little bit more, tell you a little bit more about the historical background of Ezra-Nehemiah. And first of all, I just want to mention to you that there are several different datings of the events in the book of Ezra-Nehemiah, but the traditional one is the most common now, and most of the scholars argue for this position. Like, for example, that Ezra came first, and he came about 457 before Christ. And after that, when he completed his mission, he came back to Susa, the capital city. And after that, Nehemiah came. And Nehemiah came is about 444 BC. And somewhere in the middle of the Nehemiah staying, Ezra came back. So that is why in chapter 7 of the book of Ezra, we can see that Ezra and Nehemiah are mentioned together. And after that, we do not know what happened to Ezra. And Nehemiah also came back to Persia, and in the year 430, he came back to Jerusalem again. So both of them, Ezra and Nehemiah, made 2 visits to Jerusalem. And there are also some other alternative ideas. I don't want to mention them to stay on them very in details, because as I told you, in our days almost nobody holds all those positions, and these are just some ideas of the past. And we see some of them wanted to say that Ezra arrived in the time of Artaxerxes II, not Artaxerxes I. So this is a very radical position. It has some arguments to support it, but in fact, they are not very, very convincing. Now, let us discuss a little bit, and it is more interesting, the historical background of the situation. And the historical background is very, very interesting, because we know that Cyrus issued a decree, and you can find this Cyrus prism, not cylinder, Cyrus cylinder, And the decree is written in Akkadian language on this cylinder. And according to this decree, he allowed the exiled people to go back to their countries. But when we read this decree in the book of Chronicles or in the book of Ezra, and if we compare the one that is found by the archaeologists, so we can see that they are different actually in a decree issued or written in the book of Ezra and the book of Chronicles. It looks like it is a very Jewish decree. So it means that Cyrus, it looks like Cyrus addresses directly to Jewish people and urges them to go back to Jerusalem to build their temple. But in fact, the decree issued by Cyrus, it was a kind of a general decree, edict. So it means he allowed all the gods that were combined by the Babylonians. So do you remember when Babylonians conquered a country? So they took all those images of idols and brought them together to Babylon. So Cyrus, when he came to power, he allowed all those gods, all those idols to come back to their countries, to their home countries. And his decree was a kind of a general decree, not concerning all the Jews, only Jews, but concerning all the temples that of local people in his empire. So most probably what we can say that the edict that is found in the book of Ezra and in the book of Chronicles is a kind of translation of the Cyrus document. So when it was translated, most probably it was contextualized to a specific territory, for example, to the Jews. But of course, we cannot be sure about that. So what happened afterwards in the time? So just briefly want to mention to you that Darius I was very successful manager and was very successful emperor, and he was able to organize his very vast empire and make it very, like, he divided them on 120 provinces, and he did it on purpose because he didn't want somebody to concentrate power, big power in his hands, some of his satraps. And also he was a very good manager. He introduced his own money, and actually after him the empire economically and in all other aspects flourished. And we know that in year 520, in 2 years after he came to power, he confirmed the Cyrus edict or Cyrus decree, and the temple continued to be built. And actually, this time from 520 up to 515, this is the time when the temple was actually built in 5 years. And in this time exactly, the prophet Zechariah and Haggai are prophesying, and they encourage people to build, to continue the building as soon as possible. But we also know about the Darius I, that he made an unsuccessful attempt to conquer Greece. That is, and he was defeated at the battle at Marathon. And actually, after that, in 4 years, he passed away. And he was succeeded by Xerxes. And Xerxes, we know almost nothing about him, beside the fact that he is one of the main figures in the book of Esther. He is called Ahasuerus there, and he is also called the same in the book of Ezra. And he also made a new campaign against Greece, and he was also defeated at the battle at Salamis. So both those campaigns were unsuccessful, and they were not able to conquer Greece. And he was succeeded by his son Artaxerxes I. Xerxes was assassinated in the year 465, and Artaxerxes came to power in 464. But if you look at some of the resources, they will tell you that he came to power in 465. But actually, it's not a big issue. But actually, it could be a big issue and of big importance when we start calculating 70 weeks period. So the initial year of reigning of Artaxerxes is very important in this case. And you can also find some articles written by Adventist scholars who argue that actually his reign started at 464 and not 465, at least his official reign. And in this case, if we speak about Artaxerxes, there is one interesting issue about him, because actually Artaxerxes was the one who allowed Ezra to come back, and he not only allowed Ezra to come back, but he even sponsored the building of the temple, because he provided Ezra with all the money and all other resources needed for the temple, and it looks like he was very favorable for the Jews. And after that, it looks very strange, because in the same chapter 4, we can see that during his reign, some people wrote him a letter, and they said that Jerusalem is a rebellious city, and if the city is built, so it means that they will not pay taxes, and it will be a big problem for the country, for the empire. And Artaxerxes stopped building the temple. But in several years, when Nehemiah is wanting to go to Jerusalem, and he approached Artaxerxes, we can see that Artaxerxes again allowed building the temple. And in this case, it is not clear. So the policy of Artaxerxes, it looks like the policy of Artaxerxes is not consistent, because at one point of time, he allowed building the temple or building the city. At another point, he doesn't allow. And again, he allowed building the city. And in fact, we can explain this by analyzing the historical background of all those events. Actually, very soon after Artaxerxes became an emperor, there was a revolt in Egypt. And this revolt lasted quite a long period of time, about 6 years. And during all those 6 years, Artaxerxes was not able to deal with it. And one guy by the name Inaros proclaimed himself a pharaoh or a ruler of Egypt, and he actually expelled the Persian army from the country. Only a small garrison was locked in the city of Memphis, and also he killed one of the generals of Persian army, who was a relative of Artaxerxes. So the revolt was very successful, and actually this guy Inaros even asked for help from Greece. And according to different sources, we do not know exactly, but the Athenians allies sent about 200 ships to help Inaros, because they wanted somehow to influence the policy of Persia. And Artaxerxes, of course, it's not very clear. It is from only one source. We know that Artaxerxes even bribed Sparta to start a war against Athens in order to prevent sending the help to the rebels. And finally, only in the year 454 BC, the Persian general Megabyzus was able to finish this revolt. So do you see, it lasted about 6 years. And exactly in the middle of this period, in 457, Artaxerxes allowed Ezra to go to Jerusalem and to build the temple. And we can understand this issue because do you see, Judah was a province just at the border of Egypt, and for Artaxerxes it was very important that in this province there was peace and nobody wants to rebel against him. That is why he did something that could please the Jews, and they can be pacified by his actions. And Ezra is coming to Jerusalem. But after the rebellion in Egypt was over, in some time we can see that those people, Shalom and Bilsham and Rehum, they wrote a letter to Artaxerxes, and they remind him that this city is a very rebellious city, and if it is over, so in this case, they can proclaim independence. And Artaxerxes stopped the building of the city. But there was a very interesting event happened afterwards. When Megabyzus, and actually he was also a relative of Artaxerxes, his wife was Artaxerxes' sister. Of course, she was not the full sister. Most probably she was half sister of Artaxerxes. But anyway, they were relatives. And Megabyzus, when he conquered those people in Egypt, especially some of them were from Greece, he promised them, to store their life, not to kill them. But the mother of Artaxerxes, Amestris, insisted that all the captives should be executed. And Artaxerxes did what his mother told, and he executed all those captives, Egyptians who rebelled against him. And Megabyzus felt very, very insulted by this kind of behavior of the king. So what he did, he himself made a revolt against Megabyzus. And we don't know how long this rebellion lasted, but Artaxerxes sent several generals to fight with Megabyzus, but all those generals were defeated. So it looks like Megabyzus was even stronger than the king himself. And it was a big problem for Artaxerxes. Finally, this problem was somehow solved, and Megabyzus and Artaxerxes were reconciled, and Megabyzus became again faithful to his king. But what is interesting, most probably exactly at the same time when Megabyzus revolted against Artaxerxes, Nehemiah approached Artaxerxes and asked him a permission to go to Jerusalem. And Artaxerxes understand that actually Megabyzus was a governor of the Syrian province, and Judah was part of this province. So for Artaxerxes, it was important that in Judea everything is peaceful and nobody wants to rebel against him. That is why he sent Nehemiah, and he even gives him money and he gives him a lot of authority to organize rebuilding of the city. And so we can see that actually all those historical background helps us to understand why those changes took place in the foreign policy of Artaxerxes. Do you have any questions so far? Is it clear?
Yeah, we are following.
Okay.
I think
Very clear.
Okay, very well. So, and this historical background is also important for the counting of 70 weeks, because there are different ways how the 70 weeks are counted, and in some cases there are some other issues, but all this background and all this information is important for that. So now let's come to some theological issues of the book, and those issues are also very interesting and very important. And first of all, what we need to understand that the book of Ezra especially portrays the coming back of the exiles as the second Exodus. And what kind of arguments we can mention for this? For example, both were released by the imperial decree. So in case of Ezra, it is the Cyrus edict, which is later on confirmed by subsequent kings. And in case of Exodus, it was a decree of Pharaoh. So Pharaoh allowed them to go. Of course, he didn't want them to go, but anyway, he allowed them to go. And what is also important, do you remember when people went out of Egypt, the local people, the Egyptians, gave them a lot of silver, gold, and all other stuff. So they didn't come out of Egypt with the empty hands, but they came out with many precious things. And we can see that the same happens in the case of Ezra, because Ezra says that Cyrus and later on Artaxerxes as well sponsored the return of the exiles back to Jerusalem. So we can find also parallels here. And we also have the purpose why they came out is to establish worship. So the purpose why in times of Ezra they came out is to build Jerusalem and to establish the worship to God in Jerusalem. And in case of Exodus, the purpose is the same. So they came out in order to serve God. So in this case, we can see that really this return of the exiles is portrayed as the second Exodus. And also we can find some parallels in the book of Isaiah, especially because in the book of Isaiah, the return from Babylon is also portrayed as the second Exodus, so in the same language. One of the authors even argues that Ezra account about the return from the captivity is built against the background of Jeremiah 31:33. So in this case, the return of the exiles could be presented as the fulfillment of the prophecy. So the prophecy is fulfilled. That is why they came back. And also there are some similarities with the book of Isaiah as well. But here we have one interesting, very interesting issue, because if the Exodus or the return from Babylonia is presented as the second Exodus, but it's very interesting that both Nehemiah and Ezra say that they are slaves. So look at this verse, Nehemiah chapter 9 and verse 36. Behold, we are slaves this day in the land that you gave to our fathers to enjoy its fruit and its goods, its good gifts. Behold, we are slaves. So do you see this Exodus, this second Exodus, didn't bring independence or freedom to the people. But although they came out from Egypt, so Egypt, which means like Assyria, or not Assyria, the Persia, and actually from Babylonia, from Persia, but they are still slaves. This is from the book of Nehemiah, and we can find something similar in the book of Ezra. But now, for a brief moment, favor has been shown by the Lord our God to leave us a remnant and to give us a secure hold within his holy place, that our God may brighten our eyes and grant us a little reviving in our slavery. For we are slaves, yet our God has not forsaken us in our slavery, but has extended to us his steadfast love before the kings of Persia to grant us some reviving, to set up the house of our God, to repair its ruins, and to give us protection in Judea and Jerusalem. So do you see, Ezra, in the same manner, confirms that they are still slaves. So they are still slaves. And here, of course, some ideas from the Pentateuch are involved, because do you see, in the book of Pentateuch, especially in the book of Deuteronomy, we can find a lot of references about the curses of the covenant. And serving other people is a kind of a curse of the covenant. So they came back, but those books of Ezra and Nehemiah emphasize the same idea, that although they came back, they are still in the slavery. So they are still serving other people. So it looks like there is no a blessing. They do not experience blessing so far. So is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. And now the book of Ezra. Yes.
A question, Prof.
Yes, please.
What could be the reason where they were not yet receiving? Like, is it saying that God had not yet restored them to the full blessing, or what is the theological implication of this?
Yes, it's a good question about the theological implication, and it is connected to the material, which to the general material of those books. So it looks like they understand that they came out of Babylonia or Persia, but they understand themselves still as slaves. And that is why in the book of Ezra and Nehemiah, the important issue is the renewal of the covenant. So do you see, they want to renew those relationship between God and people. And another issue which is very important in the book of Ezra-Nehemiah is the purification of the nation, because what they understand that this is the consequences of their sin. Why their current situation is the consequences of their sin, and they need to purify themselves from those sins in order to get the blessings promised by God. And actually, this is the main background under the reforms of Ezra and Nehemiah. So why did they do those reforms? Because they understand that they don't have the freedom. Many promises are not fulfilled. So in order to do this, they need this purification of the nation. And one of the most important issues that I would like to emphasize is the concept of a holy seat. So we can find this concept in Ezra chapter 9 and verse 2. For they have taken some of their daughters to be wives for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy race, so this translation is holy race, but in fact you can see the Hebrew wording is Zerah HaKodesh. So it looks like the Hebrew literal translation would be the holy seed has mixed itself with the peoples of the lands, and in the faithlessness the hand of the officials and the chiefmen has been foremost. So do you see, it looks like Ezra and Nehemiah try to find the reasons of this problem that they have, and the reason is that they find is that the holy seed has mixed with the peoples of the lands. And now one of the most important issues that is raised in both books, in the book of Ezra and in the book of Nehemiah, is the these marriages with other people. And actually, this issue is one of the, I wouldn't say enigmatic issue, but the issue that caused a lot of debates among the scholars. And mostly the debates are based on this interesting issue. We can see that in the book of Deuteronomy and in the book of Leviticus and in the book of Exodus as well, there are some prohibition regarding the intermarriages with other people, especially with the locals. So they are not supposed to marry the local people. But actually, none of those books we cannot find it. We can find it neither in Deuteronomy, nor in the book of Exodus, nor in any other books. None of those books tells what shall be done in case of intermarriage. And nobody speaks about the divorce, because we do see the book of Ezra and the book of Nehemiah, the only solution that they did is just divorce with the wives and send away the wives and the children. This is one thing that is interesting. Another thing that is also interesting is that it looks sometimes that the policy of Ezra and Nehemiah is more strict than the policy of the book of Pentateuch. I just give you one example.
So are we saying
Yes.
that the book of Ezra-Nehemiah gave a solution to intermarriages, whilst the book of Pentateuch did not? Like where the book of Ezra-Nehemiah...
Actually, do you see, in the book of Pentateuch, nothing is said about what to do in case of intermarriages. It just prohibits intermarriages. That's all. But in case if it happens, what should be the solution? So Deuteronomy doesn't provide the solution. But Deuteronomy actually has another law, which is also very interesting, and it is about also about the foreign wife. So I don't remember the chapter, but the issue is when you captured some people from foreign lands, and if you like a slave girl, and if you want to marry her, actually you can marry her according to Deuteronomy, but she has to follow some prescriptions, like she's supposed to shave herself, and she was set apart for like 2 months, I don't remember exactly, and for this time she is supposed like to cry upon her destiny, and after that you can marry her. So it was in the book of Deuteronomy, but it looks like the book of Nehemiah and the book of Ezra is much stricter than the Pentateuch. Just let me read one. Chapter 13 of the book of Nehemiah. At that time, the book of Moses was read publicly to the people. The command was found written in it that no Ammonites or Moabite should ever enter the assembly of God. Okay?
What chapter is this?
Nehemiah chapter 13 in verse 1.
Thank you.
Should ever enter the assembly of God. So should never enter. Just check in your Bible, is the same translation. And if you read the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23, and this is the chapter where this verse refers to. So in this chapter, we can find this one. Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 3. No Ammonite or Moabite may enter the Lord's assembly, none of their descendants, even to the 10th generation, may ever enter the Lord's assembly. So actually the Pentateuch says, according to Pentateuch, it is not as strict as in the book of Nehemiah. For example, it says that until 10th generation, they cannot enter. Or it is the way how they interpreted this passage, because maybe in this case, the 10th generation is, we shouldn't understand it literally. And in this case, it means that nobody at all. So 10th generation, it's so far. So it means that nobody can enter. But in fact, we can see that, for example, David or Ruth, the Ruth was Moabite and she was able to enter. So this is a kind of variance that we can find here. So in the book of Nehemiah, it looks like they're very, very strict about that.
Can you repeat?
Yes.
Bro?
Yes,
You said
please.
Nehemiah chapter? You read Nehemiah chapter?
13 verse.
Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 3.
Okay, thank you.
And Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse, I don't remember.
Yeah, 3 and 4.
3 and 4.
Prof,
Yes.
What is the view of scholars on the attitude of especially Nehemiah? First of all, is he justifying himself without short prayers? Lord, you know, I have done this, and now the guy is very rude, very, very rude. I'm trying to compare with the spirit of New Testament. Yes.
Yeah, that is why we need, do you see, Ezra was also very strict.
Yes.
So the
yes.
only thing that he just didn't torture the birds or whatever. So, but he is doing almost the same.
Same, yeah.
Yes, but maybe he is doing it in a more gentle way, and not so strict as Nehemiah.
Nehemiah throwing things out of someone's room, and you know.
Yeah. So because he was Ammonite, yes.
Yeah.
Tobiah.
Yeah. Tobias.
Yeah, Ammonite, and do you see? It was written in the book. Nobody can enter. So if he is Ammonite, no way. Yes. One more thing that scholars also perplexed about is about the reason of this prohibition. So in the Pentateuch, it was clear. The rationale of the prohibition is the idol worship.
Mm-hmm.
Why you shouldn't marry them? Because they can bring you to idol worship, and
yes.
of course it is not good. It is a very bad thing. But it looks like neither Ezra nor Nehemiah tell us about that this is the problem. But instead, what they say that the problem is the holy race or holy seed is mixed with the peoples of the land. So it looks like they speak about the purity of the nation. And,
maybe, Prof, what do you think is really amazing that while there are these prohibitions that no Moabite should come to the assembly of God's people, then Jesus is born of the lineage of a Moabite woman.
Yes. So that is why I say that it looks like Ezra and Nehemiah are more stricter than the Pentateuch.
Yeah.
Because in the Pentateuch, it looks like there is a kind of a room for the foreigners, and foreigners can be included in the society. But in the book of Ezra-Nehemiah, it looks like there is no way for foreigners at all to be the part of the society.
Now it brings me back to the question of Pastor Makalonge. Were they justified to do this? Whereas
Yes, I think it is. It could be
to,
justified.
or was it like a special?
Yes, it could be justified. So one more thing that is perplexing for scholars, as I told you, is the rationale. And one thing that it is important here is that actually some scholars cannot find the reason of this rude attitude. And especially do you see from our humanist point of view, when a person expels wife and children, so it is very, very tough. So it cannot be justified in our society. It cannot be justified. But just one thing that we can remember is that the idea of the prohibition was not only the idol worship. The idea of prohibition in the Pentateuch, the great danger, was with the covenant. So the covenant is broken or could be broken, or the alliance with other people, with other women, could result in the violation of the covenant. So the people can go to other gods and serve other gods. And probably one of the things that Ezra and Nehemiah wants to protect is the covenant. So because these mixed marriages resulted in not speaking the Hebrew language, because those people who married Ammonite, Moabite women, their children were speaking, they didn't speak Hebrew, and they spoke the local languages, Moabite and Ammonite. So in this case, the identity of the nation was endangered. And probably one of the issues here, or some type that is kind of fulfilled here, is the story of Abraham and Hagar. So do you remember Abraham sent away Hagar and her son Ishmael, and because of the same issue, the concept of the seed. And this concept probably is based upon this story as well. Abraham and Hagar could be an example, and they just follow this example when they sent away their wives. Okay, but this idea of holy seed we also can find in Isaiah 6, chapter 13, when it speaks about the root of Jesse, and he says that actually this holy seed is still there, and because it's still there, they can have a hope. And it looks like Ezra and Nehemiah understand themselves, the people of Judah, as the holy seed, and because of that they shouldn't intermarry, so they should it as pure as possible. Okay, do you have any questions so far?
Was there confusion with regards to the understanding of holiness,
Holiness.
especially
Yes, one
the
more
concept
thing
of holiness? Because
yes, one more thing
okay,
that is important, and we'll speak about just a little bit later, is that yes, excuse me. Yes, this quotation is very interesting from Saul Olian, Rights and Rank. He says, the idea of a holy seed is most likely an elaboration of an older notion of Israel as a holy people, a notion found prominently both in Deuteronomistic and holiness materials. The idea that the holy seed has been mixed with alien nations suggests that it has been polluted by such mixing, just as any holy item, person, or locus may become polluted if it comes into contact with a polluting agent. So do you see here, he makes very interesting comparison of the holy objects or holy items. So do you see these holy things should not be contaminated or polluted with something something bad. So in this case, they understand themselves as the holy objects. For example, as the objects of the sanctuary, which are not supposed to be mingled up with anything else. So they understand themselves in the same manner. And actually, this idea of equating people and vessels can be found even in the book of Daniel, especially in chapter 1. Because in chapter 1, and not only in chapter 1, but in the book of Daniel, we can see that Daniel, for some reasons, emphasizes that Nebuchadnezzar took holy vessels from the temple. He took those holy vessels from the temple, and he also took some people from Israel, from Judah. And it looks like the destiny of the people and the destiny of the vessels are parallel. And when the vessels are brought back to Jerusalem, people were also brought back to Jerusalem. And during being in Babylonia, there were attempts to defile, to pollute the vessels, and there were also attempts to defile the people. Like, for example, especially in the book of Daniel, where we can see all those young men and Nebuchadnezzar tried to force them to worship idol. So he wants to defile them, to contaminate them. And Belshazzar, the king, who takes those precious vessels and wants to drink from them. And he also wants to pollute them. And maybe we can connect this idea of holy seat with this idea of holy objects. So they understood themselves as the holy object that survived the exile. And they should keep the purity of the nation. They shouldn't mingle up with other nations. And actually, it has some rationale, and it has a justification, because do you see, if they didn't do this, so in this case, the Israel identity could be endangered, and people could lose the identity as the holy nation, or the nation that has a specific mission. Okay, yes, do you have any questions?
Prof, I was wondering, again, it's just the implication of this issue. I remember in early 90s, we had a conference president who used this model of chasing the wives, and he ordered the whole conference, that those who did not officiate their weddings in the church, and those who married non-Adventists, and those, we had these categories, and he said those are the Moabites we are talking about, and so divorce them. And he was, and people did that. So it was
really?
Yeah, those who had issues with their wives, they did it that very week, and they went and say, get another one. But others were wondering, we've been around, we have grandchildren. He was reading, he said even these ones, they had been around for a long time. He chased them with their children. So, and of course, the issue of interfaith marriages is still an issue today. Many young people are wondering, why should it be Adventist and Adventist? Can't we marry with Lutherans? Can't we marry with, other Christians? Why should it be Adventist? I'm just trying to think of theological implications of this. It's still an issue today, I think.
So of course, these marriages, it will be always an issue. Especially Adventist, non-Adventist marriages, it is always a problem. So I just tell you an example. A couple of years ago, I met the vice president on academic affairs, VP for academics of Friedensau University.
Yes.
And he told me that he is married to a Baptist. I was surprised.
Wow.
Yes, so, and honestly, I cannot understand how can they have these two different worldview in the same family. Like, for example, he is worshiping God on Sabbath and she is worshiping God on Sunday. I cannot understand this, but it is just an example. But it doesn't matter very much. But what I would like to tell you, I don't think that we can directly apply this issue to our modern situation. Of course, we need to understand that marriages with the non-Adventists, it's a danger, and it is a great danger. And I always use as an example the story of Genesis chapter 6. And we understand that those sons of God were the descendants of Seth, and daughters of man are descendants of Cain. And when we read chapter 4 and 5 of the book of Genesis, we can find in those chapters two societies. So one is the people who forgot God and they do not serve God, and this is the descendants of Cain. But we have another society or another line of people, those who serve God and those who worship God. And finally, in chapter 6, we have the situation when God says that there is nobody except Noah who serves God. And there is a big question. And there is this big question is about this generation of pious people who worship God. Why did they disappear? And the beginning of chapter 6 actually explains the reason. And the reason is intermarriages. Yeah. So do you see the author emphasizes that the sons were born to them, and he describes those sons. Unfortunately, the translation, most of the translations are dependent on the Septuagint, and they're not correct. For example, they call them like gigantes or some big people. But the idea of the Hebrew text is that the next generation that was born from these marriages was the people who are completely corrupted. So do you see, there was a big number of good people, worshippers of God, and in one generation, all of them just disappeared because of the intermarriages. So the Bible emphasizes the danger of the intermarriages, especially with the non-believers or people who are of a different worldview. It is a big danger. But I don't think that it could be the reason for the divorce. So the divorce could be justified in this situation, in the situation of Ezra and Nehemiah. But I don't think that the divorce could be justified in our days. because do you see it has so many issues like children without parents and so many other issues which are involved, and they're not good.
Thank you.
Okay, did I answer a question?
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And yes, so let us just summarize the theology of the book, because I have another class at 11. Just very briefly, one of the chief objects of Ezra-Nehemiah was to show the Jews that they constituted the continuation of the pre-exilic Jewish community, the Israelite community that God had chosen. Thus, in this community, they were to see a continuation of God's redemptive activity. Ashkenazi has noted the structural and thematic importance of the list of persons that impress upon the reader that the real subject of the book is the people, named and unnamed, famous or forgotten, whose presence is memorialized with almost tiresome specificity. So the idea of continuation. So the idea of the Ezra-Nehemiah is just to show that they are the holy seed, and this holy seed is the continuation of the people who lived before the exile, and all the promises that were given to them are still valid for this new generation who came back from exile. This one issue, the separation, the emphasis on continuity with the covenant people of God led to a strong emphasis on separation from any form of defilement or syncretism with the surrounding people. The post-exilic community was a tiny island in a great sea of peoples and religious traditions. It was important that the covenant community remain pure in doctrine, customs, and ethical norms. And the last one is scripture. Ezra-Nehemiah affirms the centrality of the law of God in the life of the community. So it has become popular to say that Ezra introduced the Pentateuch to the community. This is nowhere stated in the book. Yeah, do you see there is a very common idea that a final form of the Pentateuch was produced by Ezra. So they didn't have Pentateuch before, only just separate some books or some sources, and Ezra was the one who finally compiled the book and present them to the community. So, but it is not the case. The people already knew that the law of Moses was authoritative. Ezra was not presenting a new book recently finished. He was recalling the people to the law of God, which they had neglected. So these are the main issue in the worship. The religious or worship experience of the people is also central in Ezra-Nehemiah. When the first group of exiles returned from Babylon, they first built an altar to sacrifice to God. Only afterwards did they build the temple. Still later, they built the walls. This priority is correct. Worship and a correct relation to God must be at the center of our personal lives and the believing community. Okay, so do you have any other questions?
Prof, is the PowerPoint on?
I will upload it.
Thank you.
You will have it.
Thank you.
And the video I will also upload there.
Thank you.
I think also just one thing that I liked is the emphasis of keeping the holiness of it begins with the building of a wall, and talking about keeping the holiness of inside that wall, like there's, like as you said, a tiny island. That's really something that I noted.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you can read much more on this issue, and the book of Ezra-Nehemiah is a constant interest of scholars, and there are huge amount of literature is produced on this, and many different ideas we can find among the scholarship. Okay, thank you very much. You were very good audience, and I was very pleased to be with you in this class. And as far as I know, we will have one more class in March or April, I don't remember, and it will be on exilic prophets.
That's right. Yes, that's correct.